What's up, YouTubers? I want to talk about the invasion of Muslims from the Middle East into Western Europe. Over the last year, we've seen a complete invasion of Muslims into Western Europe, and there's not really much the Western European Western European governments can do about it. The EC is being closed down by decentralization. What I mean is, these are individual Muslims using modern technology of computers and cell phones to talk to each other, to tell their friends how easy it is to get into Europe, how great it is to get on the welfare state and its benefits, and how there's a fence going up in Hungary, and if they don't get in now, they won't get in at all. Right now, I think the Germans are saying there's going to be something like in the order of 1 million immigrants coming in this year or this previous year, and they're suggesting maybe 1 million next year. I think it's going to be closer to 2 million in 2016. I think this invasion of Muslims is going to change the character of Europe. Right now, Europe is mostly a kind of a semi-Christian state, countries, and secular. I would say secular more than Christian. Well, the Muslims have their own ideology, and they're bringing their ideology with them. And their ideology is hostile to Christians and is hostile to the secular state. These are mostly young men who are coming from failed states, and they're coming for monetary reasons, to earn income to support their families, and they're coming to get away from the failed state policies of their own governments of hunting them down and killing them. They don't like the violence that's going on, so they're escaping the violence and they're going to Western Europe to avail themselves of welfare and jobs. I think primarily jobs. Once they get ensconced in Europe, once they cross that line, they can go anywhere in Europe and basically get on welfare. They're not going to Spain or Portugal. They're going to Germany and England if they can, because that's where the jobs are. Anyways, with them, they bring their bad habits, their ideology of extremism of the Muslims, and they don't have a high opinion of women, and they don't have a high opinion of democracy. And with that, that's going to change the character of Europe. And I don't know if it's going to bring down the whole Western civilization, but it might be pretty damn close. Anyhow, there's not much the EU can do about it, because all over Western Europe, politicians, the right-wing political groups, are gaining power, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. Like they used to say in the States in the 1980s, all politics is local, and all over Europe, Western Europe, political uh, organizations are coming to power that are fairly open and hostile to the Muslims invading the country and creating all kinds of crime. They're creating no-go zones, for example, in France, they're not integrating very well the Muslim immigrants in Europe, which is creating a lot of some violence and some poverty, and like I said, no-go zones where the police don't even go. There's been an increase in crimes against the Western women. You can just Google Sweden and rapes and see what's going on there. So these really young men who are pretty angry and pissed off going over to Western Europe, availing themselves of welfare, they can't get jobs because they're probably being discriminated against. They can't marry the local women because the local women don't want them. Well, that's a disaster in the making. I don't know how it's going to resolve itself, but what I do think is going to happen is the EU can't fight this decentralization. They're just coming on their own. They can't go to the Middle East countries and make a deal with these Middle Eastern leaders to stop this immigration, because it's partly the Western zone war policies that are creating this mess, and it's partly the fact that these young men, they just want a better life. Oh, there we go. Got a little some fireworks going on there. I don't know if you can see it in the window, but there's some fireworks. Anyhow, this is going to cause a big problem in Western Europe. So what do I think? I think if you're in Western Europe and you're in the southern part of Europe where the economy is really slow and not growing, you may want to immigrate to Latin America or the US or Canada. If you're a young person and you're worried about opportunities, same thing, probably the United States, Canada, and Latin America. Australia maybe, New Zealand is a possibility, but in the US and Canada, those are some of the easiest countries for Western Europeans to get legal immigration. And Latin America is especially easy to get immigration if that's what you want. So what I think is in 10 or 15 years, but especially in 2016, you're going to see a huge migration of Muslims from the Middle East into Western Europe. That's going to totally change the character of Western Europe. I don't know if it's going to bring Western European civilization down, but the dreams of the New World Order in Western Europe and the U.S. are just going into the tubes. The economies are slowing. We're going into a recession next year. The Muslims are coming to get jobs that don't exist. The Muslims are going to get on the welfare, which is bankrupting the West. The healthcare and the minimum, well, the healthcare and the other cash benefits they can get is totally bankrupting Europe, and it's also the same things happening in the U.S. So all this is going to lead to a big disaster of the people who are for one world order. So what we're going to see is multiple fences going up all over Europe to keep this invasion of Muslims out. I'm not sure it's really going to work because the more the fences go up, the more they know, the Muslims, that they better get their butts over here before the fences go up. So the bureaucrats can't control it. They're too slow. They can't they can't beat the market forces. They have to have their committees and have their blue ribbon panels studying this problem. By the time they come to any conclusions or what they're going to do or how to implement a policy, these immigrants will already be here, and there's nothing they can do. Once they get in, they're in. It'll be too expensive to kick them out, and the crimes and the cost of housing all these people is just going to go through the roof, which is probably going to cause an outpouring of the elites, for some of the elites, and some of the wealthier classes, into Latin America and the U.S. and Canada and possibly Australia, New Zealand. So tell me what you think. If you're European and you're seeing this invasion of Muslims, what do you think? Comment, like, and share the video. Thanks.